Hey guys, this is John from Tech Tips by John. Just wanted to give you a little bit of information today regarding Microsoft Word. So, as a student, I know that I use Word multiple days per week. I use it for a lot of different purposes, whether it's to take some notes, if I'm designing posts for techtipsbyjohn.com, or if I'm just trying to organize, or for formal papers for school. So there's a lot of different uses that I have for it. I actually write some of my meetings for work in there as well, just to cover a little bit today so you can kind of know what's what aside from just texting. So Notepad is basically a text editor. Notepad++, one of my favorite text editors. If you want to do anything with formatting, you're going to want to do it in Microsoft Word most likely. So what we're going to do, we're going to go into our file options here. And let's go ahead and just create a new one here. And double click to start it up. So I've got a few things here. Now, number one, if you are working off of Microsoft Word, one thing you might notice is that when you fire it up, yours will not come up in Times New Roman 12. This is the standard for APA formatted papers. Obviously, you got a double spacer, which I have not enabled on this. There are some things that we can do to make that happen naturally, as you can just see, and I'll go over those in a few minutes. It's a relatively short video just to give you some ins and outs of how this works. Alright, so the first thing we've got over here in the home group, the ribbon is this whole area across here, everything from the clipboard down here all the way to voice. The main things we'll cover today are just the clipboard, font, paragraph, and styles. I'll show you a couple other things for fun along the way. So this area here is the clipboard, this very first area. We have our Format Painter, which I actually have on my techtipsbyjohn.com website, an article on how to use Format Painter. So make sure and check that out if you really want some good information, if you want to change formatting in a few different places or your fonts aren't lining up. That's just definitely a good way to do it. The long and short of it is if I'm writing ASDF here, and I copied and pasted something along the way and things just aren't looking the way I want them to look, and I accidentally ended up typing like that. So I've got two different formats that I don't think look quite the same. I can actually say, you know what, this is Algerian. I don't want this in Algerian. This is Times New Roman. I like it. This is what I need. So let's do this. I'm going to go click on my Format Painter. Now that I've highlighted the one that's good, I'm going to highlight the one that's not good. And guess what? Now it's converted over to it. If you have several different spots you're looking at, you just double click Format Painter. And if you notice, when I go over something, it's still there. Even when I left click, I can go over and do another one. I typically find that good if I'm writing something like, this is a header, body of text. This is a header, body of text. And this is a header, and again, body of text. Oops, not test. Don't feel like doing any tests today. So as I'm writing out my paper, I may go back in later and say, you know what, I want to add some headers in there. So what I can do to make my life a little bit easier, I can actually highlight the one that I want to work with. Let's change it up here in the styles group to heading 1. And let's say I want to make it bold. I can make it italics if I want to. And let's say I want to make it all caps. Alright, and you know what? I'm not a big fan of that bluish color, so I will make it black. So we have a whole different look than the rest of this. Now I want all these to turn into header formats that say this is a header. So I'm going to highlight the one that I like that for. I'm going to double click Format Painter. Now as I go through, let's do it on this one. And voila. Now when I'm done, you can see I've still got the icon up here showing the formatting. I'm just going to hit the escape button on the laptop and boom, it's no longer like that. The one thing you will notice, however, it did not change this to all uppercase. It did change the actual format of it to match the actual text and all. So I can still go back and do this. Incidentally, this is a really neat thing here. So what we'll find out a lot of times is I want to take my title of my paper and I want to put it up into the header up here, which you just double click in that area to get to. Well, if it's lowercase, let's say the actual title of my paper is, let's make it something really technical here. Normal style, center for my paper. This is a paper. And so I want to put that up top, so I can actually copy this. Double click up in the header. Now if you paste it, one thing you notice is it's going to center because it's centered there. So I can actually go over here and left align it. Now because this is a formal paper, I'm going to want to highlight this here. Click on my little big A, little a. I can make this uppercase. So, and then once I insert and go to look for anything I need, there's my header options here, my header and footer tools. So I can do a different first page if everything's going to be a little bit different. But one thing that I do use often is the page number. Note if you go to top of a page, it's going to void out what you've got. So I typically go to current position instead. And of course, my Word decided that it doesn't want to go too fast today. So anyway, I'm in the current position. I'll put that in. I can tab that out. It's a little too far. So now I actually have a proper header up there that will occur on every page that I do. So just little things. So this clipboard area here, in addition to it, if you do get too many items in your clipboard and it tells you, oh, we can't store anymore for you to copy and paste, you just click that and expand it. And you can clear the ones you want to clear. So if I do that, that was in the clipboard, I can hit it again and do it, or I can clear it because now it's no longer stored. Okay, so in this case, we'll just go ahead and delete that because we don't need those anymore. Now, typically, fonts, if you want to change a whole series, you can actually go to body, and I can change that to something else. And what it will do, it'll actually change it here and anything that you type past it. If you notice up here, it's still staying Arial black for anything else that I type. So I'll change the back. Incidentally, Control-Z is the shortcut that lets you change it back to what it was before. If you go too far using Control-Z, like Zulu, Control-Y goes the other direction. So as we look at the font groups, though, if we highlight something, we've got options for bold, italic, and underline. Most of those people are familiar with. Some options there depending on how you want to underline it. Strike-throughs. So here we've got our sub and superscripts. Come in handy there, make our font size a little bit bigger. I typically recommend using this right here to do it. Just set the size from this, and you can play around if needed. If you need to clear off the formatting, you can actually put unformatted text there too. So if I do want some bullets in anything, I've got my body of text here. I want to put point, another point. So if I want those to be bulleted for my paper, looking a little bit more of an outline form, I can either do it as just a standard bullet. If you hit the drop down, you get multiple types of bullets. I can do 1 and 2. I've got other options in here as well that I can pick, or I can pick what kind of outline that I want to do from the list library there. I can increase and decrease the space from the margin there. I can also fill in the shading but goes behind it if I want to make it look a nice funky color or something. And the biggest thing I use here is you can change, if you're going to do this in an APA format, you may want to change that to 2. If you're not doing APA, you're just writing, you may want to do this as 1, or if you're going to manually do it later depending on the thing. One thing I see quite a bit, by the way, I've seen people go, hey, I've got these weird little symbols everywhere and I don't know how to get rid of them. They show up everywhere. What they probably have is this little paragraph button here. You can show and hide it. Literally, you just left click to undo it. I've seen a lot of executive assistants use that function when they're doing big formal papers to make sure everything's lined up perfectly. So it is very useful, very handy. And over in the styles, typically the ones that I use, most people use the headings 1 and 2 and the normal. I do have my own creative style, which I'll cover in another video at another point. Editing, the good thing with editing is, let's say I have the word text at 3 points here. And I can use find to find a word. If I'm going to use text, and I really don't want to have to go through and change text to be a capital T every time, I can go into replace here. I can find that word text that I know is lowercase and replace it with an uppercase. And if I hit replace all, we made 3 replacements. So if you can see in here, text, text, and text. So we got plenty of text. The other thing all these have that some people don't know is these little hangouts down here I showed you with the clipboard. The font also has one thing that you can do. Like I said, this comes default to a Calibri. You can go in here and you can change this to Times New Roman. You can change it to whatever you want and whatever font size you want. The color you can schedule as well, how you want everything to come out, and it'll give you the true type font and how it's going to look. If you set it as default, you can do it for this document. If you want to do all your future documents in the future, just click that. And the normal template is just as a DOTM template. It's just what loads naturally with Word. It'll change it for everything in the future. Like you saw, mine started with Times New Roman 12 because I just set that for all future documents. So we do have a few neat effects in here, how you want to format text and all that good stuff. So just some things to play around with and expand. Paragraph has an expander too. The expander here, the main thing I use this for. So if you're ever doing a reference and you're typing out your reference manually and you're doing Clark, me, I usually use the reference tab up top to do this, the reference button. So and this is a way to make a reference that is really so long that it goes off the line and down. Okay, so one of the things is in a lot of formatting for references, the second line actually has to get indented, and it can be kind of a pain in the butt if you don't know what you're doing. What I used to do in the olden days, I'd click here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice it doesn't quite work because I have extra spaces and things. What I found to be beneficial, if I highlighted this paragraph option, I can click that expander. This little field here that says special, switch it over to hanging. So once I do that and click OK, it automatically will move that down and it'll work with all the different references you've got so your references look nice and professional. So styles actually has an expander as well. And the expander there just brings everything to the side so you can keep it handy for you. Incidentally, you can just go through your styles with these little up and down arrows. You can create a whole new style. You can pull it up, you can call it and modify it, whatever you want to call it, John, based on Times New Roman 12, however you want it to look. You can add it to the styles gallery. And again, it's one of these funky things that you can do it on just this document or anything new that gets done. So, no reason to really do that here. And there we go. So, all right. And just looking through these just to see if there's anything really good. You can actually change these, how they're done, add it to your styles galleries. So, styles, you're not going to do a whole lot with them, but they do come in handy. So anyway, just a couple other things to note, by the way. If you didn't know, page 1 of 1, you can see what page I'm on here. You can see how many words I've actually typed into here. So there's a lot of neat stuff here in Word that we'll find useful. Insert's another good one that we've got. You can insert different things from the pages. If sometimes if you get to the end of creating your title, and this is a paper, I might put this is a paper, John, and my school for, like, say, APA formatting. So I want to insert a page here without having to tab down all the way or just hit enter over and over. I can insert a page break here. And look at that. So now that looks a lot better, and I'm down on here now. All right, I'm feeling good about myself because my paper is going to look really good and professional. So tables, most people aren't going to have too many tables in here, but you might find yourself using that every now and then. If you want to get some pictures, or clip art is really online pictures now. You can get anything pretty much and put it in there. Icons, all that good stuff that you might need. You can insert online videos, links, whatever you like. There's just lots of stuff. If you want to add a comment to something, comments can be set to either show up or not show up when you print. You'll find that teachers sometimes will use these in schools to put stuff, and they'll put, this is a load of poo, or, can we confirm this is probably more likely. All right, and it'll kind of tell you when you hover over what it's pointing to, exactly where it came from. So it's kind of neat. You can reply to it and you can resolve it. So there's definitely some cool stuff in there to take a look at. All right, so add more comments. Hi. All right, there we go. So we got headers, page numbers, all that good stuff. So just to kind of take a look. Design, you may or may not use a lot of. Colors, you do have watermarks available in here, by the way, if you want to add a watermark to something. You can do some custom ones in there too, so that's actually pretty neat. The layout, this is where you're actually going to change it if you need to change it to landscape instead of portrait. References I use frequently, and you'll actually see I have some real references in here because I do things for school. I'm actually a cybersecurity student. I've got some stuff that I have reviewed. Here's something Northcutt wrote something for Science Institute. And let me just go ahead and I'll actually copy this over. There we go. So one of the neat things that I found here, let's say that I'm putting something in here and I got it from this guy. Now that he's in my list, and by the way, if they're not in there, you just hit new. You fill in the information, what type of source it is. Is it a book? Is it a website? You fill in the info, and when you're done, it'll log all that. And what you'll end up getting is it'll automatically show up in the current list if you just did it. And as I do it, what I can do is, my dog decided to say hi. So I can say, this is the one from Northcutt. I'll go ahead and put them in here. You notice it gave me my short form of it. And when I'm done and I want to add my references, all I'll do is I can hit bibliography and references. There they are. It does take a little bit of tweaking. Typically, I'll just go through and do the basics of double spacing that. And this, typically, I'll go ahead and center, turn it black, and turn this into Times New Roman 12. So now it looks like a standard reference page. So really cool functional things to do. So I'll go ahead and stop this now. Again, check out techtipsbyjohn.com. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you and have a wonderful day.